Sinners uses a major death to show a surprising side of its vampires. There are many deaths in Sinners, but one stands out as the most heartbreaking. During Club Juke's opening night, Annie is actually the first one who suspects that people may be getting turned into vampires. Since she is a hoodoo priestess, Annie has studied many mystical and supernatural beliefs. Because of her inclusion in the film, it doesn't take long for the characters to figure out what's really going on. At the end of Sinners, after many people are turned, the surviving characters shut Club Juke's doors to protect themselves from the vampires. If the characters had simply remained inside, they all would have survived the night. However, fearing for the safety of her daughter, Grace invites the vampires in. This sets the stage for Sinners' intense climax. During this climax, most of the remaining characters in Sinners die, such as Grace, Annie, Delta Slim, and Pearline. However, out of all these deaths, one stands out. Annie's death is not only the most heartbreaking death in the film, but it also reveals a surprising side of the vampires in Sinners. Before the vampires attack Club Juke in Sinners, Smoke and Annie promise to stab the other in the heart with a wooden stake if they are bitten. By doing this, they will be able to reunite with their baby, who died before the events of the film, in the afterlife, rather than live on as a vampire. During the climax of Sinners, it doesn't take long for Annie to get bitten. This is a heartbreaking moment, but Annie doesn't waste any time and quickly convinces Smoke to stab her in the heart. When she sees Smoke stab Annie in the heart with the wooden stake, Mary, who is already a vampire at this point, has a very notable reaction. She is very upset that Smoke prevented Annie from joining their community of vampires. In this moment, Mary is not at all focused on draining Annie's blood, but instead heartbroken that someone she cared about has permanently died. This reaction proves that the vampires in Sinners do have some humanity left in them. In many vampire stories, the supernatural creatures are shown to relish the death of humans, which means they can freely drink their blood. However, this one subtle moment near the end of Sinners proves that this is not always the case with vampires. Even though she is part of Remek's hive mind, Mary still remembers her relationship with Annie and is heartbroken that she will never be able to spend time with her again. In my opinion, the vampires in Sinners are so fascinating because they are not purely evil. Even Remek, the leader of the vampires, just wants to expand his community and try to connect with his loved ones through music so that he is not alone. Therefore, despite being a vampire, Mary's reaction to Annie being permanently killed proves that she still has some humanity and empathy left in her. This is also evident when she and Stack don't attack Sammy in the post-credits scene of Sinners. While most of Remek's vampires die when the sun rises at the end of Sinners, Mary and Stack escape from Club Juke and live on. The film's post-credits scene reveals that Mary and Stack are still alive 60 years after the Club Juke massacre. Obviously, Mary would have had to drink human blood to survive this long, but she is nice to Sammy and very calm during her final scene in the film. This further proves that, despite being a vampire, Mary is not a wholly evil creature in Sinners. This authenticity is one of the film's strongest assets, and it's a huge contributor to Warfare's strong reviews. Not all the soldiers involved in this particular mission are public knowledge, and Warfare is forced to blur their faces in the end credits to protect their anonymity. Whether this was an individual choice made by the SEALs themselves or a more general decision taken on behalf of directors isn't specified, but it would make sense for the soldiers not to want their faces attached to the project, especially given its apparent anti-war stance on the conflict. One of the few soldiers whose face isn't obscured is Elliot Miller, who's portrayed in Warfare by Cosmo Jarvis, and makes a brief appearance during the credits sequence. His story had been public knowledge prior to the film, and Miller has frequently spoken in endorsement of Garland and Mendoza's project, telling that he loved the film and will always have a family in the teammates I used to serve with.